Okay, so I got curious and decided to look up who people thought the Buccaneers' biggest rival was, and I found this article from 2010 by Nick Shepro, who said that the Green Bay Packers, the St. Louis Rams, and the Philadelphia Eagles were some of the greatest rivalries the Buccaneers have ever had with any team. And while times have changed and these rivalries may have lost their luster a little bit, for the time, Nick Shepro actually had some pretty good points with this one, including with the Atlanta Falcons, the New Orleans Saints, and the Carolina Panthers, with their rivalries, including Dante Wesley's hit on Clinton Smith during a punt return. But I would just like to throw my 2 cents in and say that as of right now, our biggest rival that we have to face in our division would definitely have to be the New Orleans Saints. Because if you think about it, there is a long there is a long history between the two teams dating all the way back to the second year of the Buccaneers organization. New Orleans Saints was the first game we ever won. It was the first game since the 2002 NFL division realignment that we faced the New Orleans Saints and lost in overtime to. We had the Hurricane Katrina game. We had the Drew Brees era. We've had the safety game where safety preserved the New Orleans Saints lead and gave the New Orleans Saints a win in 2014. We've also had the Vincent Jackson era with the Buccaneers, but we couldn't muster a single win. We were close in the 2012-2013 season, but of course an illegal touch came into play, last play of the game, where we could have gone to overtime and possibly beat the New Orleans Saints. By the way, Greg Schiano, how's your coaching career doing? Then we move on to the recent era with Jameis Winston, where the Buccaneers and Saints are half in each season under Jameis. That was also Jameis Winston's first win against any NFL team ever, was the New Orleans Saints. Then we have the 2017 season with the Mike Evans hit on Marshawn Lattimore. Then we also have the Dirk Koetter exchange with Sean Payton, last game of the season. And might I remind people that starting this upcoming season, we face them in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in Week 1. So there's going to be even more history for Buccaneers fans to either love or hate. Now, that being said, let's talk about another thing that makes this rivalry competitive, our Super Bowls. Yeah, as some of you fans may know, after the 2002 NFL division realignment, the Buccaneers were the first team in the NFC South to win a Super Bowl in the history. The New Orleans Saints would go on to win a Super Bowl later on against the Indianapolis Colts. So if one Super Bowl each, it's pretty fair assessment to treat each Buccaneers Saints game as a game for another chance at a Lombardi trophy. Like, hey, we won the Super Bowl before. Why don't our Super Bowl squad compete against their Super Bowl squad? See who comes out on top. That way you can get a mega Lombardi trophy within the division. You know what I mean? Especially since the Saints even still have a Super Bowl caliber winning quarterback, Drew Brees, under center. And we want to knock Drew Brees down a peg and say to everybody, Drew Brees might have won a Super Bowl for you, but guess what? We're on route to win another one, and we're not going to stop until Drew Brees is depleted and we succeeded in knocking him out of the playoffs. while also trying to get to the playoffs ourselves. But then again, that's another matter for how well the team does in the upcoming season. I mean, if Dirk Coder doesn't step up his shit right now, if Jameis Winston doesn't step up his shit right now, we could see another disappointing season. We could have another 5-11 season or a 6-10 season, and Coder may be fired. Jameis Winston, I wouldn't necessarily say replaced, but we might get another quarterback in the draft to give Jameis Winston motivation to try to step up his game for that number one spot. But getting back to my point of the Buccaneers and Saints each winning a Super Bowl, that's something we'd all like to see. Our Bucks Super Bowl team going up against the Saints Super Bowl team to see which of the two would perform better than the other. Would Brad Johnson win it, or would Drew Brees and the Saints defense stomp all over Joe Jur- Joe Jurevicius, Michael Galloway, and Brad Johnson for a Saints win? Other than that, though, I mean, with our upcoming games and the games that we've had prior, this rivalry's looking heated up, especially with the coaches' exchanges at the end of the 2017 season, and the fact that we can now mock Saints, and we've been mocking Saints fans for that missed tackle in the playoffs that sprung Minnesota into the NFC Championship game. So, look out, New Orleans. You've got a strong rivalry on hand, and we're not about to back down for anything just because you beat us and made it to the playoffs last year. If we continue to half, it'll be all fine. But guess what? Next year, we're aiming for that playoff spot. And we're not going to let Alvin Kamara run all over us again. You best believe that with our new defense, we're going to bring some pressure and we're going to bring it good. And with our offense, we're going to pass well, we're going to run well, we're going to go all over your throats with points. You best believe, Who Dat Nation. Who Dat Nation is what they'll be talking about. Who they? Who Dat Nation that didn't make the playoffs this year. That's what they'll be talking about in ESPN stories.